Is buying a $2,000 or $10,000 course the way to become an entrepreneur?
It's definitely not. It's definitely not. Like all the people I know who are successful entrepreneurs are not selling courses on entrepreneurship. Successful entrepreneurs because they have some business that's working and they're mostly just doing that. If they're selling courses, then you are the business.
Justin, obviously everyone wants to know what happened to Dr. Disrespect. Everyone's dying to know. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Coffeezilla, another edition of Sunday Special where we talk about whatever the hell I want. Today we have a very, very special guest. We have Justin Kahn. He's the founder of Justin.tv, which eventually became Twitch.tv, which he co-founded with Emmett Shear, Michael Siebel, and Kyle Vogt. You eventually sold Twitch for almost $1 billion to Amazon. You've started several companies since, like SocialCam, Atrium, and you've been an investor in at Y Combinator. You now have your own seed company called Goat Capital. So all of this to say, Justin, sincerely, I have no idea why you decided to come on the show today to my little channel, but I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me. I came on because I watched the interview you did with my friend Jason Calcanis, and I thought it was funny. I loved it. So, and plus, I respect the mission, which is to expose all this, the internet fraudsters and flush them out.
That's the main reason I wanted to bring you on, because there are just this huge influx of entrepreneurs selling success on the internet. And I think everyone knows the type. They're doing stuff, you probably never heard of any companies they built, but they're talking like, they're God's gift to entrepreneurs, and they're selling success, overnight success, in a $2,000 course. I've been ranting about what a scam this is for a long time, but getting Jason on was so great. Getting you on so great because I want to talk to real entrepreneurs who have really done it, because you guys are the people that people need to be listening to as far as getting advice. And you're not gonna try to sell them success, because you guys know that's ridiculous. But let me just ask, for the sake of it, is buying a $2,000 or $10,000 course the way to become an entrepreneur?
I mean, it's definitely not. It's definitely not. Like, the thing that always strikes me is, if these people are successful, all the people I know who are successful entrepreneurs are not selling courses on entrepreneurship. They're successful entrepreneurs because they have some business that's working and they're mostly just doing that. Like, if they're selling courses, then you are the business. Like, you're the one who's getting farmed here. And so I just, like Y Combinator being a great example. I spent years at Y Combinator. YC was the investor in Twitch, or Justin TV, the company that turned into Twitch. YC was also first investor in Airbnb, Dropbox, Reddit, Coinbase, Instacart, and tons and tons of other startups, thousands of other startups now for the last 15 years. And YC does all of its content for free. Right? All of the content out there on YouTube, on podcasts, it's all free. All the essays that Paul Graham started writing, and then all the other YC partners write, and that I wrote when I was at YC, are free. Why? Why does it? That's a cost center, right? Like, why do people spend their time doing that? Because it's the funnel for their actual business. The actual business is investing in companies, and right. Some of those companies become Airbnb, and then everybody makes a shit ton of money. Like, that's how the business works. Not monetizing the audience of hopeful entrepreneurs, which not only would be a much worse business than, actually what YC does today, but it's also, we view it as like much less ethical, right? Like the point of it's almost anti-encouraging people if you're monetizing them in a way that's exploitative.
Yeah, because it seems like when you're early stage, I mean, you are working on limited funds. And so if you're all of a sudden going to give $10,000 away to some business coach, there's almost no way they're going to provide that much value, as they could take like a few points of your company and then advise you. That's what a lot of legitimate entrepreneurs do. Or, you have companies like Y Combinator. Instead, they go, no, we want an upfront fee. And that's, I think, the most telling thing is you take people who are like hopefuls and you do it. But I don't think people understand how big the industry is. I've been railing about it for like a year and a half. And it's $1 billion industry. All these guys basically selling success. What would you say to someone who's like sort of stuck in that loop and doesn't know how to differentiate real advice? Because a lot of these guys give a lot of like kind of a boilerplate advice. They say like work really hard, save your money, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How'd you differentiate?
So, well, so I think there's a question of like the source, who's the source is coming from. But actually, I want to give you one more example from Y Combinator on like what somebody who, an organization that's pro founder looks like versus one that's maybe kind of anti-founder, anti-entrepreneur. And so with YC, one of our biggest expenses when I was at Y Combinator, I don't know if this is still true, especially during the pandemic, but we used to fly in entrepreneurs to interview with us for a 10-minute interview to see who we would fund. They would come in from all over the world, all over the country and all over the world. And we would pay for it because we didn't want people to go out of pocket to do an interview for us. So YC's biggest expense was to pay for hundreds of people every 6 months to fly in from sometimes it was like from Africa or India or whatever, so they could meet us so we could decide whether we wanted to fund them or not. And that, we didn't have to do that. People would have gladly paid themselves, but it wasn't the ethos. We were saying entrepreneurs who are starting off don't have a lot of money. So it's our duty, our, ethical duty to try to be as supportive as possible. And since we are in this position of relative power and are making very decent money, like we should pay for this. And so, that we would throw events, we would throw like conferences for thousands of people, and they would entirely be free. It wouldn't be, you would even have to pay, any amount. It would be like completely free. And we would, do it entirely from an application basis, and so I think that's the difference between a firm that's really trying to organize around helping entrepreneurs versus somebody who's trying to monetize and exploit potential entrepreneurs. Sorry, that wasn't answering your question, but your actual question was, how do you determine fake, or like good advice from maybe more generic advice? I mean, I would look at who is giving this advice, right? I think that's really important. And what I mean by that is like the people I know who are like the best entrepreneurs are not that flashy. They're not out there on social media posting pictures of their, Lamborghini. Like they're just not. Like I don't know a single entrepreneur who's like a successful tech entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. They might own a lot of them own a Lamborghini, but almost none of them are posting pictures of it saying they're going to teach you how to be wealthy enough to buy that Lamborghini. None of them are.
It's so tacky. It's so unbelievably tacky. And it's become that way sort of because so many of these sort of lifestyle people who, don't really have it have been renting them. And they've sort of, I honestly think they've devalued a lot of the brand of Lamborghini. And it's sort of made it like, oh, if you want to sort of show you have wealth, you don't get a Lamborghini, you get something maybe a little more exotic. That it's sort of like, if kind of cars. There's a lot of that. To go back to your point about, even like Y Combinator would pay out of pocket to find good talent. I mean, that you can find the same thing in a lot of, trading's another big thing where they sell a lot of courses, but there's also legitimate, like, institutional funds where they'll pay you. It's called an internship to learn. They know you're not like qualified to go make them a ton of money right now, but they want to invest knowing that maybe 10% of those interns will turn into future traders of theirs, right? And so I think that is a great rule of thumb is like, where are they taking their value in the lifespan of you as, as a customer? Are they taking their, or an employee? Are they taking their value at the beginning of the value chain, before you've done anything? Or are they taking it sort of in the future when you've proven yourself? And that shows whether they're really betting on you, right? Or they're betting on just like a huge number of people coming in and just sort of making money at the top of the funnel, it seems like.
That's exactly right. It's kind of like angel investors there's some angel investors that are paid to pitch, and that's like a fucking scam. Like when people make you pay to pitch, like if you're a real investor, your business is on finding amazing investments. And a pay to pitch is an adverse selection, right? Because like someone who's good is not going to do that. And so, it's just, that's an example.
Have you figured out about the Clubhouse grift yet? I mean, that's a whole thing that's going on right now is that there's so many of these guys. Me and Jason have been going off about it. At him more than I mean, he really sees it as, his worst enemy are some of these guys on Clubhouse having people pitch to them. And then they'll take these investors. Sometimes it won't be pay to pitch, but it'll be like, hey, yeah, give us 30% of your company for coaching. And it's like, what? 30% and no value. Like it's a revenue generating company. They go, give us 30%. It's just absolutely insane. But I think part of the problem is so Silicon Valley captures the best talent in the world. But then you sort of have like, you have people that Y Combinator accepts. And then you have people sort of who aren't able to get into Y Combinator, but they still want sort of what you might call entrepreneur help, which is a really valuable thing. What would you tell companies who aren't lucky enough or fortunate enough to get into Y Combinator, who are looking for that kind of helping hand, and now they have a bunch of grifters promising them, come with me, I'll give you success? How can those people get that help that they want without falling for these scams?
Yeah, so I think that's really tough, right? Because the best, like there's like a little bit of a like kind of global network effect where the best talent, like the best advisors, investors, et cetera, are like looking for the best companies because they want that Facebook or Uber or Airbnb like return. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense. I mean, but the access to that mentorship is like very limited, right? Like I probably look at 1,000 companies a year, and like I might fund 20 of them, right? Or 30 of them. So it's like 2% or 3%. And so, I just don't have the time, right? Like I'm just one guy.
Of course.
And so, that's kind of the way it is for all of the, successful entrepreneurs and investors in Silicon Valley. And understandably, other people want mentorship and they want to figure out how they can find mentors, and I think that then they get fooled, I guess, by these kind of people who they come in like the clothing of a mentor, right? But they're like not, or like what people think they should look like with the Lambo and a million Instagram followers or whatever, and then you get fooled by it. But that doesn't exist, I guess. Like this is not maybe this isn't the like easiest message to hear, but it's like part of what you have to do as an entrepreneur is, kind of get to the stage, prove yourself to get to a stage where people who are successful want to help you and want to like work with you. And usually that requires some level of evidence on your part. So how I see it might be like, you don't have to be a successful company yet, but you have to be able to build a product, right? You have to demonstrate that you can build a product. And that's hard because like a lot of people are like, well, I don't know how to build a product and I don't know how to, successfully find a technical co-founder, if they're not technical and so, we couldn't really help those people. And a lot of them still wanted something, but like, it was just kind of like the burden is on you to go and get to that proof point. And then once you get funded by YC, there's another milestone, which, okay, you want to raise a Series A from like real investors. You need to really prove some set of milestones in terms of growing that product in order to get there. And, that's just kind of the way the world works. It's like, if you want people to help you, the best way to do that is to help yourself and to get to kind of show that you're worth helping. And all the information, the positive thing I can probably say is that all the information to figure that out is out there for free. Like all the most successful people in the world, not just Silicon Valley, have put this information out there, like how to raise money, how to build a product, how to find product market fit. It's all free out there. You could read it. Like I put a video out on YouTube on my channel that's like how to pitch investors and how to raise money from investors, how to create a narrative around that.
Right.
I put that out there for free because I just want to get that information out there. It's like people helped me with the same type of stuff when I was coming up. And so it's my joy to help entrepreneurs in that way. I don't need to like lock it behind a paywall because I know if I put enough good karma out there with my content, then I'm going to get a lot of entrepreneurs who are like, oh, I want to work with you. And, my job is to select the best of those who will provide the best returns.
100%. There are no secrets. This is what I keep trying to tell people. And it's so great to hear it from somebody who's, been there, done that. And it seems like it's all execution then, right? Because if the information's out there, then what changes, the variable, the X, is execution and learning how to nail that execution, how to like meet the right people at the right time. Something that strikes me is that you and your co-founders, I mean, you guys are all like crushing it. Your co-founders are now like Emmett Shear's, I think the CEO of Twitch, right? Michael Siebel is managing director of Y Combinator. Kyle Vogt is the CEO of Cruise. So, and you guys were like hanging around Steve Huffman at the time, co-founder of Reddit. It seems to me like, okay, there's no coincidence that all these people sort of surrounding each other, hanging around, all ended up doing great things. It seems like network, you guys just had a great network. How much of your success do you contribute to your network, and how do you build a great network?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it applies to everybody, right? That's why I love that question. Like the interesting thing is the success didn't really come from like you might see the later stage network and be like, oh, he's friends with the CEOs of Reddit and Coinbase and, all these other companies. And, that may be why he was able to become successful. But it was actually like in the beginning, we were all just nobodies.
That's what I'm saying. No. That's what I'm saying. It's like these people who seem to be hanging out early on all went and like started a lot of the companies we all know today. But it's just funny to me because I was watching some of your videos about like you were like out partying with Steve Huffman. And I'm like, how funny is it that the guy like who co-founded Twitch is also hanging out with the guy who co-founded Reddit? I mean, to me, that doesn't seem like coincidence. There's a lot of smart people out in the world, but there's obviously something happening here. If two people so close together co-founded some of the like biggest companies or internet companies ever.
Yeah. It's not a coincidence, right? Because people group together. Like if you want to be, there's this old adage that's like, you're the average of your 5 best friends. Mm-hmm. So if you want to be an actor, then you should go make friends with people who are trying to be actors or are actors. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you want to make friends with people who want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs, and surround yourself with that. And that's one of the really powerful things about Y Combinator is it's a community of entrepreneurs where entrepreneurship was previously a very solo journey, right? Like it's something that's very isolated, kind of like you're figuring out by yourself. And so Y Combinator is this community of entrepreneurs, and it brought together a lot of these early founders of internet companies in this kind of 2005, starting in 2005 wave. And, it was just self-selecting. Like people, like we wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I kind of became in this community. I joined this community and I got funded by YC, and then I became friends with all these people in YC, and that was my friend group. And today those people have become successful because it turns out, like any form of success, you start working on it, and then 10 years later or 15 years later, like that's when it really pays off. And so, all these people were just kind of smart, relatively smart, but mostly people who had opted in to working on internet startups and were working hard 10 years ago, and then became something now, because of that hard work they put in.
How do you find that network if you don't have something sort of ready-made? Like Y Combinator, is such a cool thing for so many entrepreneurs. What would you say to somebody who's living in like Illinois or the UK or India? Maybe they don't have such like a startup scene right in their local area, or a scene for whatever they want. Is it possible to create your own scene? What would you tell people?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because it is like a lot of these networks now have moved online and are much more accessible to people who are anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
So some examples, like Y Combinator itself, anyone can apply to Y Combinator from anywhere in the world. There's companies that are like African solar companies that have been funded by YC, or like Indonesian, delivery companies like everywhere in the world, really. And so that community is online. Anyone can apply for free, right? Like, so you could just apply for free. Now, not everyone can get in because YC only funds a limited number of companies, but you can apply. But then there's all these other digital communities of people who are building things. Like, for example, I'm in this one called Gen Z Mafia, although probably shouldn't tell them because I'm definitely not Gen Z. I'm old as shit. But like what I love about this, it's all of these Gen Z kids who are building stuff. It's kind of like startup Gen Z, and they're on the Discord server, and that, as far as I know, is free. I think maybe anyone can join it, or there's maybe an application process, but that's a great community where all these people are trading tips about startups and talking about startup news and doing fireside chats with people from Silicon Valley. And like, it's a great network. I've hired people out of that server that they asked me to come in for a chat, and then I've hired people out of that server, and I've funded companies from that server. So, that's an easy way to get access to somebody like me. And I know there's many other successful entrepreneurs and who have, investors who have spoken on that server.
It is. And I want to dive deep. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, but it just sparks such an interesting conversation for me about like networking. And I find it so fascinating. So many times you get in these communities and you might like feel like a bit of an outsider, or the conversations you're having with people are purely sort of transactional. How do you turn what is just sort of, we just hang out in the same Discord server into something that's like, hey, we're actually maybe interested in helping each other, maybe with a business venture or whatever? How do you break down that wall of like, hey, Justin Kahn's in this Discord server. Obviously that's like cool, but he doesn't know me. I don't know him. You know, the internet has democratized, you know, talking to like celebrities, to interesting people, but so often they have like sort of that walled garden. How do you break past? How have people in the past broken past with you?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple questions in there. One is like specific to me, and then the other one I hear is, how do you build these relationships in general? Like, so starting with the generalized case, like people do business with people, right? And if you just build a real relationship with somebody, then they become a resource to you, right? They're like a social resource, right? It's like social capital. And it's interesting because people don't think about that as that much, but it's just like, you just need to work on your relationships. And that's what ultimately is going to pay off in business. Like for me, it's like, I've been someone who loves connecting with people, and I've always wanted to connect with people. And I connect with people, try to meet them and know them long before there's ever some useful thing that I want from them or want to do with them business wise. You know, I'm an investor in Reddit. You know, I participated in investment in Reddit, and that was years. You know, I knew Steve for over 12 years before even that was on the table. And it just happened because, you know, we were friends, and he was commiserating on how he wanted to raise some money. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, maybe I can help you with that. And so, you know, that kind of came out of a friendship. Right. And so I think there's a lot of examples for me in my life about, you know, really just worrying about developing relationships first, and then eventually something economic can grow from that. And then, you know, in terms of like the general question of like, sorry, that was the general answer. The specific question of like, how do you get in touch with me? Well, you know, I've answered DMs from people on that Discord server where they're like, oh, how do I think about, you know, approaching this starter problem, or, you know, I'm pretty accessible. Like I read my Twitter and Instagram DMs largely, and people will send me messages. And the things that work it's the same as cold email. It's like, if someone like me, I think I'm a little bit more accessible maybe than most people who are maybe have done, you know, start a $1 billion company, but I like to help people. And I generally talk to people I'm willing to respond when things are made easy for me. So it's like, there's a concrete ask. It's not too long. Like you're not sending like a 10-paragraph email. It's like, here's the context for why you might want to be interested in me, like what I'm working on, et cetera. Here's like my specific question or ask, and then thank you. That's it. Boom. Like, you know, 5 sentences. And that's like this, you know, it's kind of table stakes. And then there's, you know, people, it helps when you're asking something that's like, I get something out of it, right? Like, and what I mean by it's not I'm getting something, like I'm getting money or status or something like that, but like maybe I'm learning something, right? Like if you can teach me something that's really interesting. If you ask me, like I was chatting with someone random today, and he was asking, like this conversation kind of started with like, you know, I'm kind of struggling with a bunch of things, and like I just wanted your advice on these things I'm struggling with. And that's like interesting. It's like, oh, by helping you, I actually feel good about myself. I'm getting something.
Right.
Then there was like, it pivoted to like, can you give me advice on my Y Combinator application? Then I'm like no longer really getting anything, because it's like, well, you could read that. I think I've written about it. There's a lot of stuff online. It's like, so I'm like I'm going to be on Zoom today for like 11 hours. So like that became deprioritized, right? Like I would like to help everyone if I could, but that was no longer super interesting to me. And so, you know, it's just, think about that. Like put yourself in like so many people who come out and reach out, they don't put themselves in the context of the person they're reaching out to.
Yes, correct.
So just imagine you're me, and I get probably like 50, 100 DMs or emails or whatever a day. That's not even including TikTok and YouTube comments or whatever, right? So like I get a ton of reach outs a day. How can you contextualize the thing that you want in a way that is giving me something back? Even if it's just learning.
Oh, I totally get it. No, I don't think you're being, it doesn't come across as like selfish at all. That's just how people are. They want it contextualized in a way that fits fits into their life, fits into their goals. It could be even like you have a mission to help XYZ, contextualize it within what you care about as well. I do find that people who have been successful, very non-pretentious, and a lot of them want to give back. They feel like a debt to, to give back to people. I find that all the time, which is why it's so funny to me that, you have people charging $20,000 for an hour coaching call. And it's like, they're just a nobody. And it's like, they're charging so much money for this thing. And it's just crazy. Now I want to pivot a little bit and talk about some of the paradoxes in entrepreneurship, which is something that we talked about, like general advice and how it's sometimes useful, but sometimes it's not the right use case. So persistence is a common trait for entrepreneurs that they need to have it to get through sort of the valley of non-adoption that nobody cares about your product yet, right? But on the other hand, most ideas will not work. And if you can kind of cut your losses early, if you can find out your idea is not going to work, it's good in a certain kind of way. You even said this in a recent AMA. You're like, I don't remember exactly how you said it. You said like, learn how to quit early. It only gets harder. How do you know the difference? That seems like it's paradoxical. On the one hand, entrepreneurs should persist. On the other hand, they should learn to quit early when they realize their idea is not going to work and they can start something else.
I think it's really hard to tell because there's no real formula, it's kind of like when people give up, people give up when they run out of ideas on how to make it work. And so the way that you want to, if you have some mission of like something you want to bring into the world, the key is that you like continually have new ideas on how to make it, how you could bring that about.
Right.
And usually what happens is entrepreneurs run out of ideas. They run out of things that they could try, and then they give up from there. I don't have a formula on like when you should give up. It's with Twitch, we pivoted multiple times. We had this show that was called Justin TV that, where we were trying to create a live video stream, and then that didn't work. So we turned it into a platform for live video, which worked for a while, and then eventually we pivoted to Twitch. So it was a very circuitous route. But the one thing I can say is if you don't want to give up, if you have this mission and you don't want to give up, then, the thing to do is surround yourself with coworkers and co-founders who can really support you on, and when you're feeling down, they're like maybe charging ahead. It's to like constantly put yourself in positions where you can think of new ideas for how to kind of innovate and like iterate towards something that works. And the last thing is really work on something you really intrinsically care about. If you don't you don't care about something, then when it stops working or it gets tough, that's when you're most likely to give up.
That's such a great answer. Something I think about when as I'm talking to you is that you're someone who sort of climbed the mountain, achieved, whether you would say so or not, you've achieved the Silicon Valley dream of the huge exit. You have even this company you co-founded also went on to do great things. Like it didn't bomb. It's like, it's doing incredible things. Literally you're like one of the fathers of modern gaming, and that being a legitimate career. I mean, to say that with like no exaggeration, seriously, you've enabled and empowered so many people who, never thought they'd have a career in this. It is amazing. And that is like the dream of, social, like being able to change things. But I kind of am so interested in, people like yourself, because the question is like, what now? What inspires you? What inspires Justin today? Is it to build another, $1 billion company? What gets you out of bed and gets you excited for like, keep pushing, keep pursuing?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one I wrestled with for a very long time. So for me, I wanted to create a bigger company. I had friends I had $1 billion exit with Twitch, but then we were looked at guys who were friends of mine who they were like Brian Chesky from Airbnb or Drew from Dropbox, and they were like doing way better. So for a long time, I was highly motivated to, because I was pursuing these extrinsic goals, right? These egoic goals to like be more successful. And so I tried, started this other company. Long story short, didn't work, raised a lot of money for it, had high expectations. And then, somewhere along the way, I realized like, actually, you could never have lasting satisfaction from pursuing external goals, right? And people always say, when I say that, they're like, oh, it's easy for you to say, you already had it, you already made it. It's like, well, okay, I've been there, yes. But I've also looked at my friends who were more successful and thought, oh, I want to be there, I want to be there. And
And they're probably pushing because they're looking up too. They're like, there's somebody above me with more zeros by their name or whatever, by their net worth, or doing more.
That's a human condition, right? Is to always be looking. I did a post on this on my podcast, The Quest, but I'm going to put it out on YouTube as well. It's called hedonic adaptation, right? Or the hedonic treadmill, where we get to a new place and then we're like, oh, but what about this place? It becomes, we get adapted to it, and then it's just business as usual. When I was, I you have
some good examples of that, of hedonic adaptation in your life?
Yeah, exactly. I'll give you the example because it was interesting. As an entrepreneur, I went through the entire, every step. So when we started off in 2006, we paid ourselves like $1,700 a month. Or this is in 2005 with my first company, $1,700 a month. But every other month I had skipped salary. So we paid ourselves basically like $800 a month. And then when we raised our first venture round for Justin TV, we got $75,000 a year salary. And then from there, when we raised the next round, I think we boosted it to 100,000, and then we became profitable at some point. So it was like 150, and then we got to some profitability and we raised it to 200,000. This was over the course of like 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we spun out a company and we sold it for $60 million. And so everybody got like a pretty big taste, and we became millionaires. And then we sold Twitch for $970 million. So everyone became like just really stupid rich. Right?
Yeah, like stupid
and so,
rich.
Yeah. So it's funny because I saw this was over the course of 8 years. So I saw every step. And I always, when we started off, I said, if we could just make $1 million each in this business, that would be crazy. That would be insane.
You've made it.
Yeah, we would have made it.
Yeah.
And we blew by that, obviously. And so the funny thing was, I never got any happier. Like every time I made more money, I was like, oh, this is nice for like 1 week. And then that was like my new normal. Now I'm the type of guy who makes $200,000 a year. Now I'm the type of guy who has millions of dollars in his bank account. That's it. And so, I can see that with all my friends. They could be worth, it's funny. I just had a friend, he raised money at $1 billion valuation. That was his dream, life dream, right? And then he's like he was telling me, he's like, I'm friends with Brian from Coinbase, right? They're going to IPO for like whatever, 100 billion.
They're killing
and so he's so he is upset in that instance. He's being upset.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so people don't believe it, but hedonic adaptation is the truth of the human condition. Right. Totally and true. So I think that's something that people really don't realize. And so for me, what kept me going at first was just like, I want more. Right. And then today, to get back to your original question, I really try to think about like, what is my intrinsic motivation? Like, what gives me joy? Like, what do I like to do? What would I do for no money? And if nobody was watching? It's the zen. So
it's the zen.
What I love is like,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you love?
So it's like, and it boils down to like, I love helping people. Mm-hmm. And so I like to be an investor because it's an opportunity to learn about new things, like learn new businesses and new ideas, and then also help people, entrepreneurs, with pretty much my only skill set, which is like entrepreneurship. And then I love creating, and I love the creative process of creating. So that's why I'm on YouTube and TikTok or whatever. It's fun for me. It's messing around with being creative. And that's how I've tried to design my jobs. Like, can I get out of bed and do those things? If I can, that's a successful day. If not, then, maybe I need to iterate and adapt some things.
I do sense that that's the beating heart of, of what you like to do, because even if you go back to the origins of Justin.tv, it was like, hey, let me live stream my life, which is that's like a pretty artsy idea. It's like, especially at the time, this was before, before this was a normal thing. That's a real out there art house idea that you wanted to do, which is why, like, I love your story, is because you found a way to, turn into this awesome thing, which ended up empowering other people to pursue their art, which I think is so cool. Justin, you have a YouTube channel, right? And that's something huge I want to shout out, is that you have a YouTube channel where you talk about entrepreneurship. You talk about angel investing. You talk about how you got drunk with Steve Huffman and got arrested. I mean, like, incredible. honestly, when I saw your YouTube channel, I was like, this guy should have millions and millions and millions of subscribers. I highly encourage everyone to check it out. What can people expect in the future of the man who started live streaming? What's the future of that YouTube channel?
I'm having so much fun with it. It's kind of crazy. I did not think it would be this fun. Originally I started because I wanted to promote my podcast, but like, actually I love my YouTube channel in like a completely different way. Mm-hmm. So it's content. Like I tell a lot of Silicon Valley war stories, like the story of selling to Google or almost selling to Google. Twitch could have been owned by Google and then walking away from
then
that
the mega monopoly would have been realized if you had sold to Google. He would have all been in real trouble.
Yep. So stuff like that. I tell the story of, like how we pivoted to Twitch from Justin TV. I have just like a long list of early entrepreneurship stories. And then like a lot of how-tos. I'm going to be, I did one on fundraising. That's like kind of the most hyped how-to fundraising video ever. But like if you're an entrepreneur, you want to raise money. I think I'm going to start making like vlog content. Just like people are interested about, what's my day to day. And so, doing videos on like just the random stuff that I get up to. I don't know. I'm just having fun with it.
That is awesome, man.
I want to
go ahead.
I want to give people like an authentic view into what my life is like. Cause I think I have a pretty fun time trying to be helpful, really focused on meditation and wellness are some things that are like really important to me. So my goal is really just to give people a view into my life and what Silicon Valley is like, but then also maybe teach some skills that might be helpful to people for themselves down the road.
That is awesome, man. People can go check it out.
And I want people to buy my course.
Yeah. Your $6,000 life coaching Justin Kahn course. To get invited to pitch at Y Combinator, guys, you got to pay your way in. I'm just kidding. Justin, obviously everyone wants to know what happened to Dr. Disrespect. Everyone's dying to know.
You know what's so funny? It's like I made a TikTok about this where I was like, I made this TikTok and the TikTok, every time I post on TikTok or whatever, or YouTube, people are like, what about Dr. Disrespect? What happened to Dr. Disrespect? What happened to this streamer? What happened to this streamer? Why is this streamer still unbanned? So it's either why did you ban this person or why did you unban this person?
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, so I posted, I was like, okay, finally, like you got me. Like if you comment a streamer on this TikTok video in the next 24 hours, then I will unban them. And then I'm like, no, I can't do that. I don't work at the company no more, which is true. Like I literally have no idea what happened to Dr. Disrespect or any streamer. I haven't worked there in 7 years.
It's the biggest conspiracy theory on the internet ever because everyone knows the internet can't keep a secret. And the fact that it has been kept a secret is hilarious. And of course, I was just joking with you. Obviously, you don't know, but I just had to ask. Finally, okay, sorry. One last question, then we're good, I swear. Okay. One thing I really am curious about as someone who's been in the trenches of Silicon Valley, this is a real like trench question, which is we live in a time now where it has become the norm for new startups to get like copied by the big boys. And we have these market leaders that you like Google, Amazon, Facebook, who it seems to kind of be like, oh, if you make a successful product, you either get acquired or copied overnight. And so you see that with Clubhouse, right? Where Twitter Spaces came out, seemed like overnight, and they may completely take over the space. Looking at that, do you think that discourages entrepreneurship? Not talking about that case specifically, because we know it's happened a million times to a million different companies of just getting scooped. Do you think that's hurting entrepreneurship? And what can entrepreneurs know and do to prevent that?
Well, it's definitely not good for entrepreneurship, right? Like having huge incumbents that copy and clone entrepreneurs is not good for entrepreneurship. I think the best thing you can do, the problem is like the internet economy and the internet industry is now 30 years old, right? And 25 years old. And so, there are incumbents that are very powerful. It's like much more mature. And this is, it's not unique to the internet. Like, this happens in every industry. And so if you really want to be a startup that's like not clonable, you have to kind of go, skate to where the puck is going and go somewhere where other people aren't. And so, I thought that we were doing that with Justin TV. That's a good example where we had this company called Kiko, which is a web calendar, before we started Justin TV. And Kiko, like Google released their calendar like right after we did, right? So I was like, the next company, I want to do something so different that will never be in competition with Google. And so we did Justin TV, and we were like, okay, no one, it's like me streaming my life to the internet 24/7. This cannot be a competition.
Google cannot copy this. Yeah.
Criteria, right? And they're never going to copy this. It's so insane. And then eventually we pivoted. It's funny because we pivoted to, platform for live gaming, a platform for live, and then a platform for live gaming. And then YouTube eventually goes, they add live, and then they add
all
gaming.
The same stuff. And they add like the subscription features. They tell, I know, man. It is really crazy, but now it's giant versus giant. It's like Amazon versus YouTube. Anyway, thanks for answering that question, because it's a kind of question in the back of my mind as I look at, the modern entrepreneurship landscape. I kind of feel bad for new founders, or I think it's a new problem, right? There are really good things about having a mature internet ecosystem. There are amazing platforms to build apps now to make it so much easier, but there's also downsides, and thanks for addressing that. I think that's basically it, guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Justin, answering these burning questions. I hope people learned a lot. How to be a better entrepreneur. Don't fall for the scammers, guys. Look, a lot of great guys like Justin, they're not selling a course. Listen, you can get into Y Combinator for free. You just have to have a great idea. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge, Justin. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. This is awesome. Thank you.
Sweet. Go check out his YouTube channel, guys. See ya.
I know what you mean. This ain't what it seemed. Nothing but a trick trying to sell me on a dream, but that was where you lost me. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the future is here. You can now get rich quick. You can make $1 million. You can be a millionaire thanks to Get Rich TikTok. But you need one thing: knowledge. It's only small issue. In order to become a millionaire with FinTalk, you need to first be a billionaire. That's basically it.
Just bought virtual real estate. Yeah, you heard me right.
You heard me right, boys. Hey, 12-year-old #1 wealth advisor. I'm sorry. Shouldn't there be an age limit for wealth advice? I think there has to be some regulation, please.
There's a platform called Earth 2 where you can buy real estate that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, and the profits you make, say it with me, don't even exist.
A lot of people have been talking about it recently, so I bought $13 worth, and overnight it turned to over $50.
I like how it's like, I literally got 270% gain overnight, LMAO. Hey, good luck getting your money out of Earth 2, buddy. That's totally not gonna flop. Oh my gosh. Welcome, guys. Where's the intro? Please roll the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the $10 million studio. I'm your host, Coffeezilla. And today, as you know, we're doing another Stocks with TikToks. More great advice. I hate 401ks. This is Chris Crone. We're going to be hearing a lot from him today.
Maxed out your 401k could be the dumbest advice that I've ever heard for anyone that wants to take financial control of their future. Why? But Chris, it's free money. You do max contribution and the company matches you. It's awesome. Like, are you kidding me?
I love when people mimic someone else that they want to seem stupid, so they make a baby voice and then they go, are you kidding me? Dude, hey, just because you make the baby voice doesn't mean you're right. It is great to max out your 401k. You idiot. I can't believe they just give anyone like this the ability to go tell people how to make money. Do you guys realize this guy has an SEC complaint against him? Yeah, that's a thing. He had to pay $75,000 to settle it. Oh, why was that? Oh, he had a scheme before this. So you think all you see is this guy with like 700,000 followers on TikTok. You think he's some big genius. Bro, he's going against like all financial advice ever.
First of all, I give you my money and I'm never going to see it for decades.
It's called an investment, Chris. You invest in real estate. That's what happens in real estate. Okay. I better just move on, guys. It's clear we're not going to get anywhere here.
Like, why would I give that to you even if you're matching it? It's not real. It's fake funny money.
It's not, though. Everything you said here is wrong. It's not fake funny. It's Real actual money. What? Dude, anyone can get on TikTok. I pray that any of my audience, nobody listens to TikTok for financial advice.
Come on, man. Shit.
Listen, if you're new here to Coffeezilla, welcome to the club, first of all, and then just go ahead, get your phone out. Let's do it together. Why not? Get your phone out. Here you go. Let's open up TikTok. Okay, we got it. And then delete it. All together now, delete it. It's not worth your time. There you go. And I love how they think like the more passionate and outlandish they are, the more correct they are. No, dude, you're just uninformed, which is kind of hilarious when you see this next part.
My mentor, after 7 years and $1 million of paying him, the most powerful thing he ever taught me was, Chris, the most dangerous information is what you don't know.
Okay, let's break that down, shall we? First of all, you paid a guy $1 million for your mentorship? Chris, maybe you should pay attention to some Coffeezilla. I think you could have done a lot better if you'd invested that into real estate, bud. But the most ironic part of this is that he's saying the most dangerous thing is what you don't know. And then he proceeds to rant about a bunch of things he has no clue about. Do you think this guy understands the stock market when his big advice is 401ks, index funds, anything in the stock market? Don't believe in it. Just believe in real estate, because real estate never goes down, guys. You can never fail in real estate. Real estate's the only way to get rich.
With real estate, you start here and then it'll just slowly go up.
I mean, look, I'm not even saying real estate's fine. It's just one of many options, but it's hilarious. This guy, the number one thing, most dangerous thing is what you don't know. And then you go and talk about a bunch of things you don't know about. Now, of course, let's be honest. You know why he's doing this, right? You know why he's selling you all this information.
This year, next year, and the year after, I've got a special event I'm doing April 13th. It's a 2-hour masterclass. I'm going to teach you how to take 50 grand.
It's just a pitch for your stupid masterclass. So, yeah, I don't even know if he believes in this stuff. I mean, he just sells it. Listen, if he was so great at it, why wouldn't he just do it? If he made so much money at it, why wouldn't he just, again, do it? And listen, before you say, Steven, wait, what are you talking about? Like, of course he'd want to do this with get extra money. Look at this. He says he can get 25% annual ROIs. That's what this says. And he gives you a little chart to show you that basically the stock market's a scam because it only gets you 6% a year. Meanwhile, oh my gosh, you're going to get 25% a year in the stock market. Okay, if that's true, Chris Crone would never be selling a course. If he could get 25% annually in the stock, in the real estate, he'd never sell a course because he'd be making ungodly amounts of money focusing on his real estate empire. So the very fact he's selling you some stupid masterclass should be a dead giveaway. Now, here's another gem from Chris Crone. He says that you can get a bunch of houses for nothing.
It's the best real estate year we'll see for the next decade, and I'm going to show you how to buy 12 homes without any money or credit if you attend my event January 12th, 13th, and 14th in the evenings.
12 homes with no money down? Have you lost your mind? Of course, it gets worse.
What's up?
What about low-cost index funds?
Financial influencers be like, get low-cost index funds because they're low cost, with little regard to how they perform as a retirement plan. But guess what? They freaking suck as retirement plans.
Earth to the human wet wipe. People do pay attention to how they perform. That's literally why people suggest them. They've done the math. They go, hey, this is a great option. It consistently performs unlike many other investments. Now, this guy, behind the scenes, of course, he wants to sell you on his little insurance scheme. So don't pay attention to people like this. Anytime you hear somebody going, oh, low-cost index funds suck. They suck. Hey, 401ks suck. Get ready. Get your wallet out because they're about to try to charge it up. Now, of course, guys, no video would be complete without giving equal opportunity to the women grifters of TikTok. We got to give equal opportunity. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, how do you get rich faster? Real estate or AI? This should be good.
How do you get rich faster? Through real estate or AI? Let's see. This is artificial intelligence that I use, and look at this. If you started 2019 until today, 2 years later, with only $10,000 in balance, you would have made 1,200% return, and that would have left you with $133,000 in year.
Guys, do you see anything wrong with this? 2 years, 1,200% ROI. Are any alarm bells going off for you? I swear, dude, we've gone so off the deep end of what's like even possible. You've gotten to this point where people are literally pitching fraud schemes. I mean, think about this, dude. Somebody's telling you put all your money in some random pop-up fly-by-night company you never heard of for their proprietary AI, guys. Because if I use enough buzzwords, maybe you'll believe I'm on the cutting edge of finance. It's so goofy, man. And I can't believe this lady is like pitching this and she's literally getting away with it. She's a nobody, but of course, on TikTok, she's a wealth advisor.
Make $274 a day. How can you do that? So what I did was I learned how to trade the stock market. I learned how to trade the Forex market. I learned how to trade the crypto market. I learned how to trade binary options.
Guys, she self-admits to being a waitress 6 months ago. Now, there's no problem with that. I was a waiter too. But you didn't learn stocks, Forex, crypto, and binary markets in 6 months. I'm sorry. You didn't. It's so insane to me because people are seeing this and they're really getting tricked, misled. And it's like, guys, just look at how crazy these people are. They're nuts. They don't know anything. So please don't sign up for this stuff, guys. Please, you will make me very, very sad if you if you join these people's masterminds. It really is the blind leading the blind. The info course business has no regulation. Anyone can just project themselves as an expert. And yeah, don't listen. All right, well, that's basically it. Save your stimmies. Put it in a low-cost index fund, no matter what Curtis Ray says. And yeah, that's it for now. I hope that you had fun watching this insanity and it enraged you as much as it did me. I'll see you guys next time. See ya.
I know what you mean. This ain't what it seemed. Nothing but a trick, trying to sell me on a dream, but that was where you lost me. Wake up and smell the coffee.
Me with my index fund, according to the data, not according to anecdote, according to data, hard data, I'm outperforming 99% of day traders.
What is poppin', Snake Gang?
Today, I want to tell you guys about why you will almost certainly fail at day trading. Now, I made a video yesterday where I kind of memed on some day traders, made fun of them.
Literally 2:15 in the afternoon right now. Haven't even eaten nothing all day, man. Trader lifestyle is really difficult.
But it surprised me how many of you came back to me and said, oh, no, guru such and such is legit. No, my guru is legit. And I think there's a fundamental disconnect here because as I understand it, day trading is a game that you will almost certainly lose. And it's clear to me that a lot of you guys don't believe that. And maybe that's because of all the marketing that's been going on with these gurus. So I want to set the record straight. Just for a second, set aside your favorite Forex trader, your favorite day trader, because they're trying to sell you something. Let's be honest. They're trying to sell you something. They have incentive not to tell you the honest truth about day trading. And maybe even they will tell you, oh yeah, a lot of people lose, but here's why you won't. They'll give some reason for why you're special or why they're special and how they're going to suddenly make you successful, even though the majority of people fail. Most people kind of know that. But let's go over the actual numbers because I think getting familiar with the actual statistics helps people make better informed decisions. I did this with Amazon FBA when Amazon FBA was all huge. I did a video showing that only 8% of third-party Amazon sellers make even a fry cook's income, guys. Like, not a lot of money, just a fry cook's income. Only 8% of third-party Amazon sellers will ever hit those numbers. So in this video, I want to do something similar and just show you how difficult day trading is. And I know a lot of day trading is about that excitement, the hustle, the day trader life. But I think if you get a good grasp of the numbers, if you understand the numbers, you won't be so convinced. So I'm hoping those of you who are kind of mathematically savvy will really pay attention to this video and understand the studies, the statistics behind all this, because you guys can't escape the reality of statistics. So before we get into these studies, because we're gonna go over two important scientific papers about day trading, I first wanna say, to those of you who are gonna say, oh yeah, of course the majority of day traders fail, the majority of YouTubers fail, the majority of anything fails.
Wrong. Proved over and over again.
Wrong. The problem with that is that investing is one of those rare kind of domains where you can get all the advantages of investing with basically no effort using something called an index fund, which is what I use, and it's a passive investment tool where you just put money in, you set it, you forget it. And over time, index funds have consistently outperformed almost every other super flashy investment tool. So you can, with basically no knowledge or effort, get the vast majority out of the stock market. You might not be making as much as Warren Buffett a year, but you don't have to do anything. You're not spending your life on finances. Whereas as we will find, the majority of day traders who are spending their life looking at a screen trying to, chart the data, they're not even outperforming an index fund. So myself and maybe you, if you decide to invest in index funds or whatever you decide to invest in, you can basically be doing nothing and outperforming a vast majority of these day traders who are flashing the Lambo and whatever. You're making more with your index fund. So let's go over the numbers. I want to show you guys in the data. Let's jump in. So the first paper we're going to be looking at is Day Trading for a Living, where they do a brief summary of the literature on day trading, and they explain the following. Study after study has proven that the majority of day traders don't even make a profit. They lose money day trading. Check this out. This paper found that only 36% of day traders profit. Another study finds that 25% of all retail day traders profit. Another study finds that only 19% of day traders profit. So most people are losing money. That's already a given, right? But how many people are actually making more money than you would with an index fund? Because I'm going to assume for a second that you guys don't want to waste your time day trading if you're not making more than an index fund holder like me, right? So with that in mind, let's turn our attention from not just who can profit at all, but who can profit more than an index fund, right? Who can make more money than you would if you just set your money and kind of forgot it? Well, this is where we go to another study called the Cross-Section of Speculator Skill. This study looked at day traders in Taiwan from 1992 to 2006, and here's what they found. Less than 1% of day traders are able to predictably and reliably earn positive, abnormal returns net of fees. So after you pay your fees, 1%, actually less than that, less than 1% is able to earn an above average return. Do you understand how crazy that is? So me, with my index fund, I'm just sitting here, right? No matter what the gurus say, they can say that they're special all they want. Me with my index fund, according to the data, not according to anecdote, according to data, hard data, I'm outperforming 99% of day traders. Now, part of that is because of the fees, but part of that is for another reason, because this is looking at what's called retail traders. And retail traders are people like me and you who are just handling our own money. We're not working for a bank. Now, we need to consider institutional traders, because when you're trading, right, you're trading across the table from somebody. And more often than not, that person might be an institutional investor. In other words, a bank. And this is where we go back to our next study. Once again, it's Day Trading for a Living. And what's interesting about this study is they say, hey, we think that actually the fact that there are more hedge funds than ever, the fact that institutional investing has gotten bigger than ever, the banks are a bigger and bigger percentage of the total shares traded every day, that fact puts retail traders at a disadvantage, because now it's not just Joe Blow on the internet versus Joe Blow on the internet, Adam versus Adam. Now it's Adam versus gigantic hedge funds supported by quants, right? It's Adam against Renaissance Technologies, one of the few hedge funds which consistently has outperformed the stock market, who, fun fact, 1/3 of their employees have a PhD in math, computer science, or physics. That's who you're trading against sometimes. And so what this study looks at is, look, given that hedge funds are bigger than ever, what's happening to the retail day trader, right? The guy who's trading all the time against these people. Are the numbers for day traders actually getting worse? And yes, they are. Because according to this study, which looked at the Brazilian futures market, this study found that only 3% of day traders were profitable after 1 year. Guys, that is insane. In other words, 97% of them lost money. And this paper is really clear about who they're trying to convince with the findings. They say this, check this out, quote, "It is now very easy for anyone to enroll in one of the many online courses about day trading or to join live trade rooms in YouTube where traders teach retail investors how to trade in real time. We show that it is virtually impossible for an individual to day trade for a living, contrary to what brokerage specialists and course providers often claim." Snake gang, that is it. Snake gang, that's all you need to know. Period. That totally nails it. Virtually impossible for an individual to day trade for a living, contrary to what brokerage specialists and course providers often claim. And one of my favorite parts about this study is not only do they call out course providers in a scientific paper, but also they say, okay, look, even of the people, the 3% of people who are consistently at least going positive, how much are they going positive, right? How much are they profiting? Is it even possible for the people who are profitable to be profitable enough to be a millionaire or to make all this money, flashy lifestyle, Lambo, whatever? Well, this is where it gets interesting, and it reminds me a lot of our Amazon study, because check this out. In order to make a minimum wage day trading, you have to be in the top 2.7% of day traders. Let me repeat that. 2.7% of day traders, top 2.7, in order to make a minimum wage. This is worse than Amazon FBA. At least Amazon FBA had 8% of them making a fry cook's income. So, I mean, like, now Bezos is looking great compared to day trading. But in order to make the profits of a bank teller, what a bank teller makes, you have to be in the top 0.6% of day traders. Now, guys, let's be honest. If you're looking up YouTube videos about day trading, you're not in the 0.6% of day traders. Let's just be real. And let's also be real about the fact that you can enhance your wealth by having a real job and just investing in an index fund. So I hope this really clears up a lot of the confusion about day trading. You know, there's obviously a lot of hype around this industry. Even now, scientific papers are calling out course sellers for their fraudulent claims. But guys, at the end of the day, you guys have to look at the data, not at the hype. You have to look at the math, not at the madness. So I hope this has helped you get a better picture of, is day trading right for you? I would go out on a limb and say that it's not right for almost everyone. Most people are better cut out for just passive investing. But whatever you guys think, I want to hear about it in the comment section below.